All right, what is up, everybody? This is Alex once again with the EOT News Flash. This is going to be our limited set review for Kaladesh, which comes out. The pre-release is next week, so this is going to be your first look at the entire set, reviewing each of the cards individually, giving a power ranking and all of that. We're going off a 4-point scale. One's of the cards you will never ever play. Two are your filler cards, your less impactful cards, your weaker creatures and removal spells. The threes are going to be sort of your premium creatures, your premium removal, and the fours are the bombs that will pull you into the color that you open. Maybe it's your first pick in draft, or it's like a really good bomb in your sealed pool. Those are the cards you would be looking for to build kind of your decks around. You'll notice that there is nobody with me, so I'm going to be doing this by myself. Just a scheduling issue here, but I'm just trying to knock this out before I end up not being able to do this for a while because we're moving soon, so that's exciting. So yeah, we are kicking things right off with the white cards, and we're going to go right into the first one with Acrobatic Maneuver. This is a 2-and-a-white instant that allows you to exile target creature you control, then return that card to the battlefield under its control and draw a card. So it's your typical blink effect. The card draw saves this, really. It's good to blanket removal spell, but that's about it. It gets a 2. Nothing fancy here. Next one is Aerial Responder, 1 white dwarf soldier. It's a 2/3 flying vigilance lifelink. The white vampire Nighthawk is here at last. This guy's solid, real solid. Definite 3 for me. Three relevant abilities for combat. Hard to block, hard to kill. He gains you life back. Awesome guy. Very cool card. Next one we have is Aetherstorm Rock, 2 white 3/3 bird. Whenever Aetherstorm Rock or another creature enters the battlefield under your control, you get an energy. Now, energy is the new mechanic that allows you to gain these energy counters. It's another resource that a lot of these cards actually can take advantage of, whether or not you have energy to spend on their abilities, or just they do all kinds of cool things. So you gain an energy counter whenever it or another creature enters the battlefield under your control, and whenever it attacks, you can pay 2 energy. And if you do, put a +1/+1 counter on it, and up to 1 target creature, and tap up to 1 target creature defending player controls. So this thing can just get out of control very quickly. A solid 4 for me. As long as you've got a good way to generate energy every time, when a creature's coming into play. If you're playing a creature every turn, you're more than likely able to activate this thing multiple times. And if your opponent doesn't have any air defense, this thing's going to start clocking very quickly and eventually get to the point where it's so big you can't even block this thing in the air anymore. Super great card here. Solid 4 for me. Next one we have is our first Mythic. This is the Angel of Invention. 3 white 2/1 Angel, Flying Vigilance, Lifelink. Fabricate 2, which allows you to either put 2 +1/+1 counters on it or create 2 1/1 servo creatures, artifact tokens, and other creatures you control get +1/+1. I don't like this one very much. 5 mana for a 2/1 isn't great. I mean, the Anthem effect is cool and all, but I don't think you want to be paying 5 mana for that. Because if you think about it, let's do the math here. So 5 mana, and you fabricate the 2 tokens. You get a 2/1, and you get 2 2/2s along with it, and the rest of your team gets buffed really big. Now, if you've got a pretty wide board state, this could be just the tipping point in the battle for you. But other than that, I give it a 3 just because it is relatively weak on its own. As always, there's good bounce effects in this set. There's decent, a little cheap damage spot removal as well. So I would say that a majority of the time, you're going to make this just be a 5 mana 4/3, and I think that's still plenty good. We're talking about Gisela stats here. So I give it a 3. It might be better than that. I'm not convinced yet, but we will definitely see how this one shakes out. This is the one I'm reserving the most judgment on just yet. This could be, an all-star for both limited and potentially even standard. I've heard a lot of people talk about this one. I'm really excited about this one. But for now, solid 3. All right, moving on to our next set of cards. We've got Authority of the Consuls. It's a 1 white enchantment that creatures your opponent control enter tapped to the battlefield, and whenever a creature enters the battlefield under an opponent's control, you gain 1 life. This is a little bit reminiscent of Blind Obedience, a card from Gatecrash, if I'm not mistaken, that had the extort mechanic, so you could really kind of punish your opponents just by playing, spells and just paying incremental mana to drain life from those spells. I'm giving this one for now a 2 for limited. If you can build a really aggressive draft deck around this, then you're in really good shape, because at that point you just play this on turn 1 and just play a guy every single turn to just beat down And for the most part, your opponent probably can't get out from underneath this. Other than that, I don't think it's very good. I've seen some people, have some murmurings about this being in Modern and the unbanning of Splinter Twin. Fingers crossed. But it won't happen because this card I don't think is very good at all. So, not great. Next one we've got is Aviary Mechanic. 1 and a white, 2/2 Dwarf Artificer. When it enters the battlefield, you may return another permanent you control to its owner's hand. So this is kind of like the core Skyfisher mechanic here, only this thing doesn't fly. Now, that being said, the bouncing of something you control back to your hand is actually pretty relevant because a lot of these creatures that have ETB effects, ETB and create energy as well. So I like it for that, and it's a good 2/2 guy. It's a bear, and bears are always good. So 2.5 for me, excellent bear. Next one we have is Built to Last. 1 white instant. It gives a target creature +2/+2 until the end of turn. If it's an artifact creature, it gains indestructible until the end of turn. I like a good combat trick. I'm usually not very high on them, but in some cases they can be pretty decent. This one's on the lower end of the scale for me personally. +2/+2. Your opponent's gonna be able to see this coming a lot of times. And might just be able to make the block accordingly and just trade, favorably for them, maybe unfavorably for them. It's kind of iffy. Now that being said, if it isn't an artifact creature, then the stock goes up a little bit. So the modal aspect of it makes it a little bit higher, somewhere under 2.25 for me, maybe a 2.5. But as it stands, I'm just going to give this one a solid 2 for now. Next one we have is Captured by the Consulate, the really bad Spellskite impersonation. 3 and a white enchantment aura that enchants a creature you don't control, which is important. It enchants a creature, it can't attack, and whenever an opponent casts a spell, if it has a single target, change the target to the enchanted creature if able. So you can't have it, be an invalid target for a kill target black creature and the creature it's attached to is not black. I don't like this spell really at all. I gave this one a solid 2. The only thing I can think of, this is got to be, if your opponent plays like one of the Gear Hulks and you just have to sub it, you put it on this, and then it makes them waste their removal spells. But again, there's still bounce in this set that's going to make this thing kind of irrelevant. It's just going to fall off when they bounce their own creature back to their hand and possibly replay it and get another ETB trigger off of it. This just isn't very good. Bleh, 2. What else can you say? Bad card is bad. Now, here's a good card. All right, here is a very good card. This is the Cataclysmic Gear Hulk, the first of our Gear Hulk cycle, full 5 mythics Gear Hulk cycle. 3 white, artifact creature construct, 4/5 vigilance, and when it enters the battlefield, each player chooses an artifact, a creature, an enchantment, and a planeswalker from among the non-land permanents he or she controls and sacrifices the rest. Game over limited. 9 times out of 10, your opponent's only really going to have 2 of these things. Probably the creature and the artifact, and that's going to be it. This is going to see something play in Standard. I've heard some whispers about this being played in Modern. I'm not convinced yet. But Cataclysmic Gear Hulk gets a solid 4. Yeah, there we go. Next one we have is Consulate Surveillance, 3 and a white enchantment. When it enters the battlefield, gain 4 energy. So, pretty good, solid investment right there. Pay 2 energy and prevent all damage that would be dealt to you this turn by a source of your choice. I'm not too sure about this one. I'm giving it a 2 for now, but this one I'm going to reserve some judgment on simply because if there's enough energy generators in this set, and if you're playing maybe a blue-white control-ish deck in your draft or your limited environment, I can see this being a real thing because this is a repeatable effect. So if you have 4 energy, you can just say, I'm going to print the damage from that guy and that guy. And then I'm going to play a guy on my turn, and I'm going to get some more energy, and then stop that guy, and then play some more energy and get that guy. I mean, there's a lot of energy generating in this set, so I could be wrong about this one. It's probably going to sit at a 2 for now. I can see it's going as high as a 3 in some cases, but this is a card that I'm going to reserve judgment on. A lot of these energy generators are very, very hard to evaluate because this is a mechanic that we've never seen before, and it's just a really hard one to evaluate. So maybe take a lot of these ratings with a grain of salt and maybe bump them about a half grade in that sense, but for now it's going to stick at a 2. Alright, next one we have is Kunsel's Shield Guard, 3 and a white, 3/4 Dwarf Soldier. Enters the battlefield, get 2 energy, and whenever it attacks, you may pay an energy, and if you do, another target attacking creature gains indestructible until the end of turn. Indestructible is good. The body's actually pretty relevant. A lot of the white cards in the set so far that we've looked at, and we're going to look at later on, can't really rumble with this thing. A lot of the blue cards can't really rumble with this thing. It's a pretty good sized body, so 2.5 for me right now. Again, this could go a lot higher if energy is a lot better than I think it is, and I already think it's pretty solid, so we'll see. Next one we've got is the Eddy Trail Hawk. 1 white, and it's a bird, it's a 1/2, it's a flyer. When there's a battlefield, you get 2 energy. Whenever it attacks, you may pay a white, and if you do, another target attacking creature gains flying to the end of turn. I'm all about cheap evasive creatures. This guy's my jam right here. Gave this guy a solid 2.5, and just the ability to pay an energy and make one of your bigger guys get up in the air and just bash him with this guy, perfect. It is worth mentioning that all of these energy creatures that generate energy, and a lot of the permanents that generate energy, except for a couple of them, the more mythic and rare ones, you can immediately get the advantage from their energy as soon as you play it, which is really great. They don't need like another card to set up their energy cost. They are self-contained and can get their advantage without having to have much more setup. So cards like the Eddy Trail Hawk are really, really cool because they all just kind of like get you the energy and you can use it as soon as you can. There's no real big setup time for it. So excellent common, solid 2.5. Let's scroll on down. We have got Fairgrounds Warden, aka Fiend Hunter, aka Banisher Priest, aka Oblivion Ring. I've seen this card a million times. Finally, with the correct templating, I think this is the best way to actually make this template actually work, without it being able to go infinite with itself. 2 and a white, Dwarf Soldier, 1/3. When it enters the battlefield, exile target creature and opponent controls until Fairgrounds Warden leaves battlefield. Sweet. Solid 3 for me. Like I've said, the 3 toughness is really relevant. There's not a lot of creatures that can rumble with this guy, and you're probably just going to leave him, on defense a lot of times and just let him, just hang out as he exiles a creature that they're kind of beaten down with and just roll the punches from there. Solid uncommon from there. Next one we have is Fragmentize. 1 white sorcery, destroy target artifact or enchantment with converted mana cost 4 or less. Typically, cards like this will be relegated to the sideboard. Now, this being a set that's heavily influenced by artifacts, this is main deckable at this point. And since there's no downside to you casting it, them gaining life or anything like that, it's a pretty solid one. The restriction on it makes it a little less wieldy. Sorcery makes it a little bit more unwieldy. But as it stands, I like a good solid removal spell that's going to handle all of the bigger creatures in this set. Things like the Gear Hulks, some of the vehicles are also really problematic. This is a great way to get around them. Modern playable as well, I think. There's definitely a chance to see some breaking into Modern, I think. Alright, next one we have is Fumigate. 3 white, sorcery, destroy all creatures and gain a life for each creature destroyed this way. I'm all about board wipes. This one's a solid 4 for me. It's going to stabilize the board in more ways than one. You wipe the board and reset your life total in a lot of cases. Yeah, board wipes. Sweet. Gear Shift Ace. 1 and a white. Dwarf Pilot. 2/1. First strike. When it crews a vehicle, that vehicle gains first strike. This thing's nuts. Probably, like, first strike on a bear is already solid. It will constantly trade up and will never trade down in a lot of cases unless they're just blocking with like a 5-drop essentially. Giving the vehicles first strike is also huge because a lot of the ones that you'd be wanting to draft are big on the power side. There's a 6/1, there's the 10, there's the 7/5, there's a 10/9. They're huge. This thing is great. Even if it's not in a vehicle, even if you don't have any vehicles, just a 2/1 first striking body is fantastic. It's a solid 3 for me. Let's move on down to the Glint Sleeve Artisan. They are stretching on some of these names here. This is a 2 and a white Dwarf Artificer, 2/2, Fabricate 1. Again, you can put a plus and counter on it or make a 1/1 servo. I'm not a huge fan of the Fabricate mechanic itself. It's just kind of underwhelming. 3 mana 2/2s are iffy. 3 mana 3/3s are iffy. Yeah, you get an extra point of power across another body, but I'm not a fan of these. Like, if we could see like a really big Fabricate, then we're talking. But as it is, this one's just kind of meh. So gave him a 2. Next one we have is Herald of the Fair, 2 and a white, human 3/2. Whenever it enters the battlefield, target creature you control gets +1/+1 until the end of turn. This guy I like a little bit better. If you guys played a little bit of Eldritch Moon and Shadows of Innistrad Limited, there were a couple of the green and white human creatures that could pump a creature or your entire team in some cases, and that's a pretty decent rate. And a 3-mana 3/2 is nothing to scoff at. So I'm actually going to revise this guy's rating to a 2.5. So he's good. Impeccable timing. Johnny's on Kaladesh. Whatever. 1 and a white. Instance. It deals 3 damage to target attacking or blocking creature. Solid removal. 2.5. Next up. Inspire Charge. 2 white. Instant. Creatures you control get +2/+1 till the end of turn. This is potentially a one-sided Wrath effect. If you're playing an aggressive deck and you line up some block, your opponent lines up some blocks and you cast this, I can see this ending just clearing the board on their side. If they're attacking and you have a wide board state to block with, also again played a little bit defensively, played a little offensively. Solid 2.5 for me. The only issue is that a lot of times your opponent can read this one coming. If you didn't play anything, you've got 4 mana left over. This is a pretty easy one to sniff out, so do be careful if you're going to try to catch your opponent off guard with this one. It might not go the way you want it to. So next one we've got is the Master Tinkerer, 2 and a white, Dwarf Artificer, 3/2, that gives servos and thought creatures you control +1/+1, and you can pay 3 and a white to create a 1/1 colorless servo artifact creature token. Sweet. I gave this guy a 3.5. This guy, unchecked, this will create a board state that you will probably not lose from, and your opponent needs to kill this thing ASAP. Alright, next one we've got is the 9th Bridge Patrol. Apparently 1 through 8 Bridge Patrols were not available. 1 and a white, 1/1 Dwarf Soldier. Whenever another creature you control leaves the battlefield, put a 1/1 +1 counter onto 9th Bridge Patrol. Now, Unruly Mob is a card you might remember from original Innistrad block and Shadows of Innistrad that only counted when creatures died. This is a little bit better because creatures are leaving the battlefield, so blink effects, bounce effects, die effects, exile effects. This guy can get out of control very, very quickly, especially if you're like suiciding your little guys in to like see if you're gonna block or take the chip shot damage. So this guy's actually not terrible. 2.5 for me. Next we have is a Pressure Point. 1 and a white instant, tap target creature, draw a card. This is a reprint from Khan's block. This is a Jeskai card. There's no prowess to take advantage of here, so this is a little bit worse. Maybe you can catch a creature, tap it one time, draw a card. It's a decent tempo play. If the blue-white sort of Flyers deck still maintains its prevalence in limited environments like it has for the past forever, this could be decent. My one big question is, where is this giant cat beast? Something to think about. Propeller Pioneer is next. 3 and a white, 2/1, flying with Fabricate 1. This is always going to be a 4 mana 4/3 flyer. Or no, 3/2 flyer. God, it's even worse. 2.5 is about where I'm going to put this guy. Decent flyers are always good in limited formats, especially if the board gets clogged up. You make this guy bigger and he just starts flying over. 2.25. Next one we have Refurbish. 3 and a white, sorcery, return target artifact creature from your graveyard to your hand. Oh wait, battlefield. That's huge. Typically a card like this will put it back in your hand, but instead this is going to put your console's flagship back in the battlefield. This is going to put your Gearhulk back on the battlefield. This is going to put your giant whatever back on the battlefield. This thing is sweet. This is a solid 3, especially if you've got some powerful artifacts to go with it. Take this one highly, put it in your limited decks. Very, very powerful card. Next one is Revoke Privileges. 2 and a white enchantment aura. Enchant creature. It cannot attack, block, or crew vehicles. This is just an improved pacifism straight up. It's a 3. Next we have is Servo Exhibition. 1 and a white sorcery that creates 2 1/1 colorless servo artifact creature tokens. Why could it be instant? Why can't they raise the alarm? It's just a functional reprint. Come on, Wizards. And it's uncommon. Either they are highly overvaluing these servo creatures and the artifact theme to push in here, or I am really not seeing the power here. It's just kind of iffy. I give it a solid 2. Next one we have is the Sky Swirl Harrier. 4 and a white, 3/4. It's a flyer. It It's a bird. It's a 2. Mediocre at best. I don't like 5 mana 3/4 flyer has typically been pretty good. This is a filler card, plain and simple, and it's got a decently sized body to kind of push through some damage. So, but other than that, nothing special. Next one we've got is Sky Whaler's Shot, 2 and a white, destroy target creature with 3 power or greater, scry 1. Solid removal is solid removal. There will always be big things to kill in limited games, in draft games. Take this highly, put it in your decks, kill things, fun. Next one we have is the Tasseled Dromedary thing. It's a camel. Oh, it was a horse. Anyway, it's a 1 white 0/4. It blocks. Don't play this one. Thriving Ibex is next. 3 and a white, 2/4 goat. When Thriving Ibex enters the battlefield, you get 2 energy. Whenever Thriving Ibex attacks, you may pay 2 energy, and if you do, put a +1/+1 counter on it. Pretty solid. The Thriving cycle is actually pretty sweet. The Turtle is my favorite, though. I give this guy a 2.5 just because it's a 4-mana 3/5 that just gets constantly bigger. This is going to trade up a lot of times and make combat very awkward for your opponent in some cases, especially if you have a lot of energy generators. You can just do this turn after turn after turn after turn. Sweet. Goats are cool. Next one we have Toolcraft Exemplar, 1 white, creature, Dwarf Artificer, 1/1. Beginning of combat on your turn, if you control an artifact, it gains +2/+1 until the end of turn. If you control 3 or more artifacts, it also gains first strike. Sweet. Servos, Thopters, incremental artifact creatures, clue tokens, and standard. Just saying, this guy is a solid 3 for me. Alright, next we've got our last 3 white cards here. We've got Trusty Companion, 1 white Vigilance. It's a hyena. I don't know how many hyenas have actually been in Magic, but this is a hyena. It's a 1/1. It's a 1 and a white 3/2 with Vigilance, and it cannot attack alone. So if you've seen like Mog Flunkies, you're kind of aware of the power level of this card. I can see this being decent in really aggressive white-based draft decks. I would leave this one in the sideboard for your limited sealed decks, just because those games typically tend to be a lot grindier. So I would leave this one to your more aggressive draft decks that go 1-drop into 2-drop into 3-drop and just kind of start, swinging. But cool. Next one we have is Visionary Augmenter, 2 white, 2/1 Dwarf Artificer Fabricate 2. This one's pretty cool. I like it because a lot of times it's just going to be a 4-mana 4/3. I wish it had a combat ability, first strike or maybe reach or something, because this thing feels just a little bit underpowered. Again, it's just like I just don't really like the Fabricate mechanic in general. It feels a little bit weak to me. Maybe I'm just missing something here. I don't see it just yet. The cool thing about this card is that it is a straight shout out to the Aliens franchise. This is the power loader that Ellen Ripley uses to fight the Alien Queen, which is really sweet. Alterus, get on this one and just put Ellen in the Visionary Augmenter. Last card of the white set, we've got Wisp Weaver Angel, 4 white creature, Angel, 4/4 flyer. When it enters the battlefield, you may exile another target creature you control, then return that card to the battlefield under its owner's control. Great for bouncing Visionary Augmenter if you want to. Get some more servos, fabricate it again. Getting more energy from your ETB effects. It's a big giant flying angel. It's a solid 3. Big giant flying angels are good. So there we go. And that does it for all of our white cards. It's amazing how fast these go when you're the only one talking to yourself. Anyway, so yeah, we're going to jump right into the blue cards, so definitely check that one out. You'll see it linked in the description and also probably in the sidebar of the YouTube video. So go check those out. Go check us out over on MTGCast. New episodes every week. You can also check us out on Facebook and Twitter and Twitch and everywhere else. Get ready for your Kaladesh Prerelease events, and I hope this has been informative for you guys and will help to put some W's in your column. So yeah, thanks for watching, guys. I'll be back very, very soon with all the blue cards, and we'll go from there. And as always, thanks for watching.